All right, I just got done with a previous tutorial following the rule number 1. In a list of particulars of 3 or more linked with and or, put a comma after all the next items except the last. Now, what I need to do is I need to see if we can apply the rules and test for understanding. So the directions for this test really come down to what is wrong with this sentence, if anything at all. So we start with number 1. During class today, the students read the Epic of Gilgamesh, the Iliad, and an informative article from an encyclopedia. Can you identify what is wrong with number 1? Moving on to number 2. Tevin, David, and Ian are enjoying my class right now. Can you identify what is wrong or missing in this sentence? Number 3. Christian is not a fan of Tevin's smart remarks, his attempts to spit game, and his lies. Is there anything wrong with the punctuation in this sentence? Number 4. Eating chicken wings and talking trash are some of my favorite pastimes. Is there anything wrong with this sentence? And if so, what is it? And last but not least, number 5. Many people do not understand erudite words such as ignominious, nefarious, perfidious, and, of course, erudite. Can you identify what is wrong with number 5? Now, having given it a good shot, I'll give you a minute to review number 1. We take a look. The answer to number 1 is that there should be a comma after the Iliad. So what I'm going to do is type in a comma after the Iliad, and that should have been what we noted as being incorrect. Number 2. Tevin, David, and Ian are enjoying my class right now. Well, if we apply the rule is in a list of 3 or more linked with and. We put a comma after all of them except the last. We're missing the comma right here after David. So I give it a highlight, and that is what was incorrect. All right, number 3. Christian is not a fan of Tevin's smart remarks, his attempts to spit game, and his lies. What is actually wrong with this sentence is that the comma is placed outside of the quotation mark, whereas it should fall inside of it. So what I'm going to do is I've typed in the new one and got rid of the old one, and all we did was make sure that the comma was tucked inside of the quotation marks. The quotation marks here add emphasis, but quotation marks usually contain the punctuation that should normally fall there. The only exception to this actually comes from when you're giving credit where credit is due in either APA, MLA format, where you have a parenthetical citation there. But in this case, the comma should fall inside. Number 4, eating chicken wings and talking trash are some of my favorite pastimes. I don't really consider those some of my favorite pastimes. I just wanted to come up with a witty sentence. In this case, we only have 2 things in the list of particulars, eating chicken wings and talking trash. And because we only have 2, there's no pause, and therefore there's no need for a comma. So number 4 is correct as is. Then we look at number 5. Many people do not understand erudite words such as ignominious, nefarious, perfidious, and, of course, erudite. In this sentence, there's actually 2 mistakes. The first one is that there ought to be a comma after the word ignominious. That's because we have a list of more than three or more, so we have 4 words, ignominious being one of them, and therefore we need a comma right there. Words such as ignominious, nefarious, perfidious, and of course erudite. But there's one other mistake in this sentence as well. In this case, we need to add a comma right there. Here we are in the last item of the list of particulars before the very last one. So really this is the third one. Perfidious. There's a pause. And then we don't have to mess with this comma right here or this one because this, of course, serves as what we call a appositive phrase. It's a phrase in the middle of a sentence that adds modification or details. Now, for the record, just in case anybody was wondering, erudite means scholarly and polished in nature. Ignominious means shameful. Nefarious means evil or treacherous. Perfidious is a synonym which means not to be trusted, treacherous. And then erudite, repetition of the first one, means to be scholarly and polished, which is what I try to teach my students to be. And if you can apply your list of particulars of 3 or more rule linked with and you correctly know how to use commas in those contexts, you indeed are erudite.